Hello and welcome to this month's video. In this video I want to talk about the Moontime and how we can connect to it and how we can honor it. And for those of you that are not familiar with the term Moontime, what I'm referring to is a period, menstrual cycle, whatever you want to call it. And this video is not really going to be clinical. I'm just going to talk more about how we can connect back to this process and to this cycle, and how we can honor it and how we can really just, make space for it to be the ceremony that it really should be and that it is. So I want to start with a story. And so this took place several years ago. I was attending a healing ceremony with a male shaman. And during that ceremony, before we began, he asked all the females in the group if anybody was on their moon time. And, this kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I just wasn't sure why that information was relevant. But so he asked if anyone was on their moon time, and then he said that because if somebody is, then they wouldn't be able to participate in the ceremony. And, before I understood anything about his reasons, before I got the background, I have to say I felt a little bit offended, and I felt a little bit just kind of like, why would you exclude a woman just because she's on her period? But after the ceremony, I spoke to him and I asked him, what's the reasoning behind this? And what he said to me completely changed my view of having a period and what that meant, and what it actually is and how we should really honor it and celebrate it. And so what he said was basically that when a woman is on her moon time, she is so much in her power, and she has so much power at that time that it completely overpowers his power and his ability to do his healing work. And I thought, my God, what a completely different understanding and approach to this than what we have currently in our mainstream society. I think there is definitely not a sense of power associated with most women having their period. If you ask people how they feel about it, or if they really track it or whatever, you kind of get the sense that they feel that it's more of a burden, more something that they have to endure every single month, rather than something that is sacred and something that needs to be honored and celebrated in an appropriate way. So that just completely changed my view of everything, and I started to actually really look into, what this was about. How did traditional cultures look at the moon time? And what I discovered was that when a young girl got her period for the first time, it was actually a time of celebration, especially among the women in the tribe or in the community. They would really welcome her. They would really teach her and welcome her into womanhood, and celebrate the fact that here was a young girl who was transitioning into womanhood, who was healthy and who was fertile and who'd be able to carry on the lineage. And I just thought, my God, what a beautiful, beautiful process, right? Like imagine if that's what we went through, is almost this initiation, or almost this sense of feeling valued and feeling accepted into the community, as opposed to what I think often tends to happen is there's sort of awkwardness around it. Parents don't always know how to talk to their kids about it. They learn about it in school, which can be good or bad. I think it really depends on the kid and on the teachers and whoever's around them. But I think the message that we give our young girls when they start to have their periods for the first time is so important. And I know that if I ever have a daughter one day, I think it will be a time of celebration, as long as she's open to that and as long as she's comfortable with that. But anyway, so what an interesting concept that this is a time of great power. And I think part of the reason that we don't necessarily see it that way is that for a lot of women, there's a sense of pain associated with their period. There are lots of symptoms that are associated with having a period that are, legitimately uncomfortable or painful, and that cause women to say, this isn't great. Like, I kind of wish I didn't have to go through this every month. But But even that, the fact that as a society, we teach women to believe that it's actually totally normal to have pain during your menstrual cycle. It's really not, actually. It's not. Usually that's a sign of some kind of imbalance, or a sign that she's been ignoring herself, or she hasn't been taking care of herself. I think the body always speaks to us. And I think especially women, like, we are so deeply connected, and there's so much wisdom within our bodies that if something's not working out, if you feel a lot of pain, then it's a good time to use that as an opportunity to heal and to look more closely at what's actually going on for you. So that's a piece of advice I want to give you, is just really start to pay attention to your cycle. Notice how long it is. Notice how many days you bleed. Notice the color of the blood. Notice how you feel. How does your body feel when you're going through that time of month? Is there pain anywhere? Where's the pain? What does it feel like? Is it in the same place every single month? Does it change? Does the pain change? Does the quality of it, the intensity of it change? All of these things are messages to bring you closer to yourself and to show you that, maybe if you're having low back pain, maybe that's something to look at. What is that about? Is it due to a hormonal imbalance? Is it due to the fact that maybe you don't feel supported? What's really going on? I think that that's really important. And then, just doing something around the Moontime to really honor yourself. So, in traditional cultures, what women would do was they would often be separated from the group. And I know that a lot of people have a take on this, which is that, it's because they thought women were dirty or whatever. But I think a lot of cultures, it wasn't that. It's that they recognized that this was a time when a woman was in her power, and when a woman really had access to, her dreams in a different way, or to her intuition in a different way that was different than, the rest of the month. So are you able to slow down a little bit during your Moontime? Are you able to spend some time reflecting, and to spend some time really just being with yourself, being with your body, being with your emotions, being with your spirit? What is it like? I always encourage everyone to just start to incorporate some self-care practices around your menstrual cycle. I find this is especially good with women who have a really hard time putting themselves first, who have a really hard time actually doing self-care, because it's something that, it's only a couple of days a month. It happens every month, hopefully and ideally. And so, it can be a very slow introduction. Like maybe just on day one, you take a bath, or you don't do 10,000 things that day. You slow down just a little bit, and you journal, or you make yourself a special cup of tea, or you meet with a very close friend and actually share what's been going on for you the past month. I think just really tuning into that is so, so important, and giving ourselves that time to just be, and to relax, and to let go. Which also brings me to my next point, which is, if you look at the physical act of the Moontime, what's actually going on? Well, what's going on is that your uterus is shedding the lining that it's spent building, hoping to receive, or assuming that it'll receive a fertilized embryo. So, it's a time of shedding and letting go. And so something that I encourage women to think about every time they're on their Moontime is there anything in my life that I need to let go of, or that I can let go of? It's sort of a cleansing process on a physical level. And, I invite you to cleanse also on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, on a mental level. Are you holding on to beliefs or thoughts or experiences that aren't really serving you anymore? Can you let something go? Can you really just let that to pass through you during those 3 to 5 days? I think that's really, really important. And then also paying attention to your dreams. So I don't know if you noticed this, but a lot of women that I've spoken to will have much more vivid dreams, either at ovulation, but what I've seen more frequently is during the first couple of days of bleeding. So just notice your dreams. What are you dreaming about? Because the dream world tells us so much about our internal world. So the dreams that come up for you during your moon time, I think, are typically pretty important dreams. So if you can write them down, if you can work with them, if you can do some art around the dream, I think it's a good way to connect back and to just honor that time. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about Moontime and just reclaiming our power through that time of month. And if you are somebody who experiences a lot of pain during that time of month, or a lot of kind of emotional sensation, not sensations, but emotional stuff coming up, it could be partly hormonal, but it could also be it could be a lot of other things too. So hormones, I think, are important to look at always because they're a huge factor in what goes on. But if you're irritable, if you're more irritable during your moon time, just really explore that. Allow yourself to explore it and see what exactly is it that's causing you to be irritable. What triggers you? And during it seems to come up more during the moon time, and it's interesting because in homeopathy we always learn that a woman's true self comes out when she gets her period, during pregnancy, and during menopause. And I find that that's true. It's almost like the veils are a little bit lifted, right? Like it's harder for a woman to quote unquote behave, right? Her true self comes out. And I think it's also interesting in our culture that, like usually a woman is supposed to be kind of softer, gentler, polite, whatever else. But in our culture, we kind of have this thing where it's like, well, she's on her period, so it's almost a free pass to act bitchy or act irritable or whatever. But, I think if it's there during the moon time, it's probably there all the time. It's just, it doesn't come to the surface. And my advice to you would be just notice how often you're actually irritable and notice your response to that. Do you just kind of stifle it and not share it with someone? Do you not want to rock the boat? Is that why you don't bring it up? What is that about? Because if it's there during the moon time, I guarantee you it's there every time. It's just a matter of allowing it to come out. And yeah, as I mentioned, if you do have pain, please reach out to someone that you trust, a naturopathic doctor ideally, because there are amazing herbal solutions and you don't have to be in pain. Usually it's due to a hormonal imbalance. And either herbs or acupuncture or both are usually very, very effective at treating that. So yeah, those are just some ideas about how to think differently about the moon time and how to get more into a place of power as we have this every month. Okay.